So I'd like to talk a little bit about memory exercises, and memory techniques. I got to wear this silly mask because I'm in the middle of the most liberal part of town, McNay Art Institute, but I like it anyway. So anyway, when I was in second grade, we came to the McNay Art Institute. Now, I did not remember the actual trip, but I had a memory fragment that kept surfacing that after I kind of became enhanced mentally, I couldn't resolve, and I kept remembering a trip that I took as a young man somewhere in town, and it was a school trip because I remember the people that were there, but not too much that happened of it. But I kept remembering about a frog statue, and I knew it was in a garden, so I thought it might have been the Tuesday Musical Society. I thought it could have been the San Antonio Museum of Art. I thought it could have been a lot of places, but I finally came to the McNay about 8 years ago and realized it was this statue. This statue is obviously not a frog, but from an angle, it kind of looks like a frog. And then once I saw that, it triggered several memories that I had. So I want to talk a little bit about memory exercises and how to enhance yourself mentally. So, most of your memories are recreations. You've got bits of it, and you fill in the blank with your experiences of the world. For instance, there's a Japanese technique called Gitsami no Michi. It's going to be very hard to look it up because of the translation. It means followers of the moonlit path. And so what that is it's a way to navigate an area you've never been in before, using common experiences that happen to all people. The American Indians have several, they call supernatural or shamanic abilities medicine. You know, a medicine man doesn't just heal people, he guides them through guided imagery to tell stories. And the Druids have their own version of that also. The Druidic path of it is called Votan, and you actually use this yourself when you're reading a book, and you bring up the imagery of what the author is trying to portray to you. Now, if a book's good for you, if it's an action book, you have done the actions that if you're watching like a James Bond movie, and have ever skied, then you go through James Bond is going down the slopes. You identify with that more. It's almost like a treasure map. So people have common experiences, and you can recreate it through. It's almost like rebooting a page. Now, I get a lot of people that say time flies for them, and it really does. It really doesn't, but it appears you enter a fugue state when you do the same thing repeatedly over and over. Have you ever if you ever gone to one of your favorite pages on the internet that you go to all the time, it comes up real fast. Well, the reason that is 99% of that page doesn't change. Only about 1% to 2% does, so it's not that hard for it to upload. Same thing with whatever you're doing, whether you're doing your actual job. If it's a real repetitive job or anything you do over and over again, you're not doing anything new, so you're not challenging your mind, so time appears to move forward. I dare say 100% of you have been driving and forgotten how you've driven 10 miles and don't remember driving. that's the same thing. So if you want time to slow down, they say time flies. Time doesn't fly when you're having fun. It actually, your perception of it does. So if you want time to slow down, a lot of y'all will remember when you were in high school and you kept waiting and waiting to get old enough to drive. And it just seemed like it took forever. And then as you get older, you say, wow, time's just, where's it all gone to? Well, it's because you've been doing the same thing repeatedly over and over. If you don't learn new things, you're in that reboot phase where you just lose time. And it's not lost, it's just your perception. Want to go over a few memory techniques, as I use this as a background. So the most common one is one called the Roman Room. It's also called the Memory Palace. So what you would do is you would pick somewhere that you know intimately, that you just absolutely know. Say, for instance, the room you grew up in, and you attribute aspects of memory fragments to each of those things. Like say you had 10 bowling trophies that you won as a young child. You could code 10 things onto that. You could code books of the Bible, the breakdown of Zeno's paradox, colors of the rainbow. Anyway, you could do anything repeatedly over and over, and they wouldn't just have to be one, they could be several things. And that's called the Roman Room or the Memory Palace. And it's a very good technique. There's another one called the Journey Method, and in that you're doing essentially the same thing, but you're making a story up. And the story would be, say you were trying to remember, ungulates or any type of animal. You would have a story where you're going around meeting the different kinds of animals, and you would remember it because it's tied into your locomotion, which is the way we code stuff. So there's a very advanced technique called memory crossing, and the memory crossing is a combination of the Memory Palace and Getsami no Michi, the follower of the Moonlit path. So in that you could recreate something that you didn't actually happen, but because we have a common experience and a common psychology, all people, you could recreate that. Now, a lot of people call that astral projection, but it's not. You're just tapping into it and convincing yourself you're out of your body. But it's actually, that's the experience of what people call astral projection. They're just doing that and convincing themselves they're leaving their body when they're actually made a mind construct and have fooled themselves. You have to get ways to practice it. You could do it with rotation of three-dimensional solids. So you would get to where you could just visualize a three-dimensional solid that you weren't familiar with in 3D space. That's one of the people that are really good with Rubik's Cubes do this all the time. It's a way of coding. Now let's talk about the ways you can enhance yourself, your diet to code. So there's four main ways you can enhance your diet with supplements, with nootropics to get to where you can remember things better, coding and solving problems. One's real cutting edge medicine that allows the two sides of your corpus callosum, remember your left and right brain, to interact faster. Those aren't available to the general public, so we're going to discount that. I want to talk about a substance called Prevagen. Prevagen was found over 50 years ago in jellyfish, and you may have, if you do a search on, let me put this in the background so you don't have to see my ugly face here. So if you do a search for glow-in-the-dark animals under UV light. They've actually been enhanced with that molecule that will cause that. Well, then somebody decided to pick it up and start looking at it again, and they found out that your brain is a big electrical chemical fat processing unit. It's the thing that interacts your spirit with the physical world. You are not your brain, but your brain is your interaction with reality. And let's use these peacock feathers. So your neuron has things coming out from there called dendrites, and the dendrites are a thing that doesn't look too unlike this, and it communicates with other dendrites at the next cell. Well, calcium ions can be either negative or positively charged. Well, when you get the wrong charge at the end of the dendrites, it doesn't allow proper firing. It's similar to here in San Antonio. We have really hard water, and it's calcium buildup, so it's similar to that. So if you take Prevagen for about 30 days, you'll notice that you remember stuff when you go into a room, especially if you're older, because you've got excess wrong charge calcium at the end of your dendrites. The other things you can take, reuptake inhibitors, acetylcholine reuptake inhibitors, and you can take acetylcholine. Now, all these things, your body senses it, and when there's a bunch of it, it'll stop its own production, so you have to change it up, much like the steroid user. If somebody's in the gym and they're doing steroids, their own body production will drop to almost zero, so they have to keep taking them after they start. The other common one is anything that increases vascularity in your central nervous system. So again, you have to vary those all the time, because your body's going to sense it, it's going to back off, so you're going to get a bump with it at first, and then it's going to go down. Now, you want to vary it. The most common psychoactive that most Americans take is coffee. A cigarette, part of the thrill of cigarettes is the nicotine causes vasoconstriction, which ups your pressure, and it can give you a little boost mentally. But anyway, try those nootropics. I do recommend Alpha Brain. Again, I don't get any money from any of this, but Alpha Brain, Prevagen. Anyway, the other things you can take, vary them. You don't want to take them too much, because your body will eventually not get the novelty on it. And remember, novelty is what's good for your brain. Anyway, thank you. Like, share, and subscribe. I'm out.